Bonjour tout le monde, jodi a se vendredi, il disait, et puis tapo conversation a cabaoya. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, 10 a.m., and it is time for Rum Shop Talks. Today, I will be making you guys a drink that I have been super, super excited about. It is called Micoud Jammers Cocktail. And the reason why I'm so excited about this drink is I am from the village of Micoud in St. Lucia. So, of course, if there's a drink out there titled Micoud anything, I want to make it. The second part of why I wanted to make it is it uses bounty rum and wine, some of my favorite things in the world. And so we're going to be doing that for you guys. And then for our legal portion, we'll be talking about the ins and outs of disinheriting heirs. Last week, we talked about the ways to amend an estate plan, and I did mention that crossing out to disinherit is not a thing, and that I was going to go into further detail. So here I am going into further detail. And so without further ado, we are going to start with our Micoud Jammers cocktail, and then we'll hop into the legal portion right after that. So the legal portion. The Jammers cocktail is actually a blended cocktail. You start with watermelon, and so I have some frozen watermelon here. The recipe is on here, but we've got about a quarter of a whole watermelon that we froze from yesterday. So I'm going to add that in here. Nice and cold. Ooh, yes. Next, we are going to add 3/4 cups of wine. Now, I bake and cook on a regular basis, which means I am really good at eyeballing things. And so we're just going to eyeball a 3/4 cup in here. Say about this much. Next, we are going to add 1.5 ounces of our rum and 1.5 ounces of this weird thing, right? I have never heard of, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it either. It is called Angostura lemon, lime, and bitters. I actually had to order it on Amazon, which is why we are making this today and not before, because I had to wait till it came. So 1.5, this is about a 2-ounce shot glass. We're going to do 1.5 in here. And I'm very curious to see what the lemon lime bitters taste like. So I will be tasting it by itself before I put it in here, because I just want to know. So I'll pour it in and then I'll taste it. Smells like Angostura and citrus. Oh, look, it's pink. I was not expecting that. So 1.5 in here. And like I said, I want to taste what it tastes like. So tastes like Angostura soda. It's not bad. But I don't know if I want to drink it by itself. I think I want to pour rum in there and then drink it. Good morning, Brill. Good morning, Mama. All right, so we've got everything in. Oh, and half the juice of half a lime, freshly squeezed, in here. And then that's it. We're going to blend that up. All right, that looks beautiful, actually. Here we have our Micoud Jammers, and we're going to pour that in our pretty glass over here. Look at that. I see why it calls for a frozen, the frozen watermelon, because you don't need ice and you get that nice thick cocktail. And I'm going to taste it. Oh my gosh, that is really good. Really, really good. Hmm. Excuse me. I took too big of a sip, my greedy self. But whenever you see me take 2 sips of something, you know it is really good. We will put up the recipe down below if you want to try this Micoud Jammers cocktail. Like I said, it's really good. And I would say make sure the white wine, because you're not using that much of the wine, it's not that much. Make sure the wine that you buy is something that you're going to want to drink by itself. So don't just like pick the bottom shelf white wine because it's going in a drink. Get something that you're going to want to enjoy by itself later on. And we're going to move on to our legal portion of the day. So today we are talking about the ins and outs of disinheritances. And I know the thought of disinheriting someone sounds absolutely terrible, right? But what I have found doing this work for over 10 years is that people have different reasons for why they will want to disinherit someone. And so we're going to break this down into 3 different sections. The first section is, who can be disinherited out of an estate? The second section will be some of the reasons I have seen people use for disinheriting an heir. And the third way, one of the best ways to disinherit, if that is something that a person wanted to do. So the first part, like I said, is going to be, excuse me, who can be disinherited? So what is disinheriting anyways? Disinheriting is basically where someone decides that they're going to cut out an heir. And it's usually you're cutting out someone who is legally entitled to take from your estate. So the people that can be disinherited would be your spouse and your children, your siblings, your cousins, your parents. But mostly we very immediately, when we think about disinheriting, we immediately think we're going to be disinheriting our first line, which is usually our children and our spouse if married. I'm sorry, guys. I've got a tickle in my throat from choking on that gem. Excuse me. Oh God. Being greedy doesn't serve. I really should have taken my time when I sipped that drink, because now I'm choking. I can't even talk. All right. So that's what disinheriting is. So like I said, who can be this? And we also talked about who can be disinherited. So disinheriting, you basically not making provisions. You're not including, someone in your estate, and the people that you are not including will be people that can legally inherit from your estate, and that will be family members. And more often than not, when we're disinheriting that first line of people who we are legally we are legally obligated to support, and that is our spouse and our children. All right, so those are the people that can be disinherited in an estate. Everyone else, it's optional. It's optional if I leave my siblings money. It's optional if I leave my parents money. It's optional if I leave my niece and nephew money. It is optional if I leave my cousins or my friends money, right? Or charity. So those people, there's no need for specifically disinheriting them out of the estate. The only people that we need to specifically disinherit, like I said, are people who we are obligated to provide support for, and that is our spouse and our children. All right. So what are some of the reasons why I've seen people give for disinheriting someone? And the truth is, a lot of those reasons that I've seen are not bad reasons. It's, so the first one I think that comes to mind for everyone is, well, this person and I don't get along. There's been a fallout in the relationship. And that is a reason for disinheriting that has been given. It's like, I've been estranged from my child for 10 years. I don't know who this person is. Therefore, it's like, I'm not going to make provisions for them in my estate, right? That's the kind of thing that you're thinking when you hear about disinheriting. But like I said, there are other reasons why. So one of the other reasons why I have clients saying, you know what, I want to disinherit an heir would be where there's a special needs or a person who may not qualify for a special needs trust. They're not disabled according to Social Security, Medicaid guidelines, but they're not people that we should be giving money to. For example, someone who has drug and alcohol addiction issues. Giving someone like that a chunk of money could potentially cause them to relapse, right? Or someone who, you know, is receiving, for whatever reason, need-based government aid, Medicaid, Social Security, SSID, Social Security insurance. So people like that, if they receive a big chunk of money, that can actually disqualify them from receiving their aid. So I have families sometimes will say, you know what, I'm not going to give that person any money in my estate. However, I'm going to make provisions for them outside of the estate, right? I'm going to have Charlie, you know, my eldest son, take care of their brother, but I want to make sure that their brother can qualify for his government aid. So that's one reason. That has nothing to do with in fact, that actually comes from a place of love for disinheriting your child. Another reason that I have seen clients give for disinheriting is where there's a disparity in wealth between their children. One child is super wealthy and doesn't need the money, and one child could really use the funds. Then a lot of the times, a parent will be like, you know what, I'm going to give my money to the child who needs it. And often enough, if that happens, I say you should probably talk to the child who's wealthy enough and make sure that he or she understands. And there are times when kids say stuff like, I don't want it, you know. And if a child is very clear about not wanting the estate for whatever reason, you know, a parent may disinherit. Again, those are reasons that have nothing to do with a fallout in relationship. Often enough, those reasons actually are garnered from a place of love. So those, like I said, those are like the most common reasons that I see people give for disinheriting an heir. So what is the best way if that were to be a situation for you or for a family member? What is the best way to go about disinheriting? It would be having an estate plan. And in that estate plan, you have to further specifically say you are disinheriting this person. So the two types of language that I use is, one, I specifically disinherit Joe Schmo. Or sometimes when clients see the term disinherit, it really hits them in an emotional place. And so we soften that up. And the soften up language is, I intentionally make no provisions for Joe Schmo. And so, like I said, it's like seeing the word disinherit sometimes, like, you know, really like jars clients. So you got to find a way to soften it up. And that's so I go to that my softer way of saying it. You know, I intentionally make no provisions for this person, and that actually feels a little bit nicer than I disinherit this person. So that is the ins and outs of disinheritance as it relates to estate planning. You know, it only applies to people that you're obligated to provide support for legally. There are different reasons why that have nothing to do with a fallout in the relationship. And of course, if you are in that position and you're looking to disinherit someone, the best way to do it is to have an estate plan and to put that language in there. And furthermore, if you already have an estate plan and you want to disinherit someone, like I said last week, and like I'm going to say right now, do not just cross this person's name out of the estate plan. That doesn't work. Have a separate document executed to include the language that I just talked about, to make sure that it's very clear that those wishes are going to be those wishes are going to be carried out. And so hopefully this is very, helpful for you guys. You have a wonderful weekend, a beautiful Friday. We'll see you next week for another episode of Rum Shop Talks. We'll be doing more rumming and we'll be doing more talking. Bye. Micoud jammers, you guys. So good. I'm going to get in there, but be a little slower this time.